we have a next speaker, which is Dr. Rania. Dr. Rania is here.
Yes, warm greetings from Greece.
Thank you, Dr.
I'm very honored to be invited here on this very important seminar on policy making. I would like to extend my heartfelt congratulations to all organizers of Rockland Institute of Higher Education, and thank you for your kind invitation. My topic will focus on educational policies in a European context and also in my country, Greece. Because already we have seen that accelerated trends and recent shocks shape global challenges in 2024 and beyond. So what global megatrends matter for education in 2024 and the next few years, and how proactively do education systems consider they are addressing them? Because education systems face shocks and disruptions and accelerated longer-term transformations that will influence the capacity to follow up on the goals established in the previous years. So the coming decade is likely to be globally a period marked by heavy unpredictability, we could say, as the globe will be navigating geopolitical transformations, climate shifts, demographic changes, and the technological advancements such as AI. So allow me to share now my presentation. Is it visible now?
Now it's visible.
Thank you, thank you. Can you see also the change of slide? Can you see the change of slides?
Yes, everything is okay.
Okay, thank you. So definitely in this context, global context with so much challenges, we can mention about the role of youth, because youth are here a necessary yet underutilized force in tackling, for example, global poverty and inequalities, because their energy, their passion, their courage to challenge the status quo are needed to identify and to address complex global problems. And their insights, the insights of young people, are worthy of attention investment. So education, training, and research have a vital role to play, firstly by supplying the skills for the transition towards a low carbon green economy, as we say, and stimulating the scientific and technological innovations that we need in order to mitigate and adapt to these issues like climate change or global poverty. Moreover, education can be here, we could say, the engine of the broader and behavioral changes required in order to ensure a resilient transition. So education, therefore, has a profoundly relevant social role, as it must promote knowledge, skill, values, and mindsets that help people from all backgrounds understand the stakes of the challenges we face and empower them to act. And policymakers, of course, recognize the crucial role of education in driving the necessary transformations for environmental sustainability, for example. So first, as you know, this Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, here the policies are implemented. And in Declaration of 2022, ministers and representatives of the countries who participate in this organization recognize the unique potential of education, starting from early childhood, in order to enable what? Social mobility, reduced inequalities, and value diversity. And they also outline their commitment to empowering all learners with a focus on the most valuable groups in our societies in order to develop their skills, their attitudes, and values in order to fulfill their potential and contribute this way to economic and social well-being of their societies. So promoting a transition towards greener and fairer societies can help education systems realize this potential. So to meet this challenge, policymakers must work to provide all learners with opportunities to solve real-world problems, work collaboratively, and draw on knowledge from different disciplines. At the same time, what is happening? How can education take advantage of the innovation potential of generative AI while being socially and environmentally responsible? What could generative artificial intelligence mean for education and training? We all know that already this is implemented in schools. This facilitates teaching and learning. But at the same time, on the other hand, there is a negative aspect which has to do with negative implications of AI, because this sometimes is a threat to academic integrity, and there are wider concerns regarding privacy, data governance, or algorithm bias, or protection of the democratic rights. So policy should now intervene. We need policy interventions, especially if we talk about digital technologies and AI. I want to say here something which is very interesting, I think, for all countries globally. I guess you know PISA competitions. PISA is a program for the National Student Assessment, which is implemented in countries all around the world, and actually tries to assess 15 years old abilities in reading, mathematics, and science. The last year, the results were very disappointing in all countries, not only in my country, but globally, especially after the COVID pandemic. PISA says that we have very disappointing results, that the performance of students has decreased. There are many reasons for this. PISA thinks that the digital technologies in the classroom, the excessive use and the abuse of smartphones in the class is one of the reasons for this. Anyway, the results of these international competitions actually are the motives for policymakers to make improvements, to make amendments for policy decisions. So in order to understand developments in education policy today, we need to focus in particular two tendencies. The first one, globalization, internationalization, especially after the COVID pandemic, and the other hand is what we call decentralization. Decentralization, we know that in many countries, authority and power is being transferred from the central level, which is the national government, to the local level, school administration. As a result, what is happening here, the local school, all school community is increasingly regarded as the focal point in combination with attempts to stimulate school-based management. So decentralization, the first one, and the second one, that policies nowadays are increasingly influenced by global and international developments that transcend the borders of nation states. So how this tendency of globalization may take different forms. First of all, when we draw upon studies and reports of the international organization I mentioned before, the PISA competitions, in order to shape educational policies, how national governments take into account the national agreements, how states adopt, for example, in Europe, the Lisbon strategy, educational policy focuses on increased international mobility of students and teaching staff. So these trends are also very important. And educational policies, we could say in general, that are diverse and multifaceted, reflecting the rich cultural and social tapestry. What is happening here that we have frameworks, initiatives which try to promote collaboration, standardization, mutual learning across borders. And of course, the focus remains on how we can provide high quality, inclusive, and future-ready education for all citizens. So, of course, these policies are shaped by a combination of national governments, of frameworks I mentioned before, and emerged from social economic factors. Actually, European Union, at first in the beginning, the education policy of Europe was considered as an instrument to fulfill the demands of equality and justice in society in order to realize social justice and economic growth. So we could say that while it consolidates the harmony among citizens by supporting a change of education, at the same time, it contributes to apply policies like community, like unemployment, research, technological development, environment, etc. So the truth is that national governments inside Europe are always reluctant to give away their powers over these policies. Why? For fear of losing national identities or a particular way of life. They don't want to give the power over what we call transnational policy homogenization. And even in this advanced stage of the development of the European Union, education policy formulations remain in the hand of national governments, education ministries. However, what the European Union tries to do does not try to standardize its education system, ignoring the differences, but of course it doesn't insist on a unique educational policies. It tries to harmonize all the differences. So harmonization more than integration is what is the focus. So in the beginning, it was about how we can share knowledge, how we can bring together all the member states with the common language skills, with shared values, with mutual sense of the past. The policy initiatives like the Bologna process, it is very important. The French president, Emmanuel Macron, the idea of European universities, and the Erasmus programs. I'm going to discuss about this. I think it's very interesting for you too. It's a funded program by the European Union. All these have contributed to the shared sense of unity. So in the early, see, this was what was happening at the beginning with educational policies. Now, the educational policies have linked to what we call global competitiveness strategies. So research education policies are aligned with this, and education is linked to employment strategies. This means of course, that there's a further loosening of European ties, political values, fundamental rights become threatened. And if we also add the case of the current COVID crisis, which has revealed social inequalities, then we can talk about all the new challenges of educational policies nowadays. In the future education policy of the European Union must address all these challenges, how to tackle national equality, the quality standardization, how address the disparities, how consider education as a tool of social protection. So the first one, part of education of the framework in Europe has to do with education and training 2022. And also here, the European education area, it's something that is very, very popular. And the national educational policies that so the governments try to be aligned with the European standards, the early childhood education and care. The primary secondary education, we all know that Finland is an example of this. Finland education system is considered as the best education system in Europe. And Germany also is, Germany has an excellent system when it comes to vocational education. In higher education, with Bologna process, Bologna agreement to standardize higher education degrees. We can mention the case, for example, of UK. UK focuses on university autonomy, research excellence, and France focuses on higher education, accessibility, and funding. Another aspect of educational policy has to do also with vocational education and training, which is still considered as non-attractive in many countries. So we try to design and implement policies, how to strengthen vocational education to align with labor market needs, how to enhance apprenticeships and internships and traineeships and promote lifelong learning. The best example is how to do with Austria and Netherlands. At the same time, inclusive education, how to ensure access to quality education for all. Digital education, very important. We try to integrate digital education to the curriculum to provide digital infrastructures. Here in Greece, we have a digital school. The digital agenda of the Europe has set up a digital detailed policy program to 30. And this digital education policy has to do with all these funded programs, Communication 2030 Digital Compass, policy programs path, digital compass that actually focuses on 4 points: skills, infrastructure, businesses, and government. At the same time, here you can, if you want, you can explore what is the European Digital Competence Framework. It's something which also it's addressed to everyone, not only to students. who want to actually to make a self-assessment about digital competencies. Then after the diagnosis and after self-assessment, then each one, each individual can try to improve every aspect of digital competencies. And of course, lifelong learning, because we need to encourage continuous skill development, to offer continuous professional development for everyone, for adult education programs, facilitate learning opportunities. And the teacher education, professional development, these policies have to do how to enhance, first of all, initial teacher training, and of course, promote innovation and teaching methods, continuous professional development, as I said before. Finland, again, is the best example for this, and Poland also. Student mobility, it's a very, very important issue now. All programs of the European Union are focused on this, how to promote student exchange programs, cross-border education partnerships, international collaboration, and of course, through partnerships between European and international universities. Equity and social cohesion, because we need to address socioeconomic disparities in education, provide financial support for disadvantaged students. For example, we have a priority of educational zones in France and also in Greece here. And now if we talk about higher education, in particular in universities, activities in Europe are designed to bring an additional international dimension to studying, to teaching, to researching, making policy in higher education. So competencies in education, cooperation, of course, try to support and enhance the actions of the member states. I can mention the first milestone, the has to do with Maastricht Treaty. It tries to encourage mobility of students and teachers to support academic recognition of diplomas and periods of studies, develop exchanges of information and experiences on issues related to education system, and of course, promote collaboration and cooperation. Bologna Declaration, I mentioned before, is the main guiding document. It's an intergovernmental higher education reform process, which was launched in 1999. It includes 48 European countries and a great number of European organizations. It actually tries to enhance the quality recognition of European higher education systems to improve conditions for exchange and collaboration within Europe and internationally. So this process led to the establishment of the European higher education area. However, all participation parties agreed to continue the process. And in the past 2 decades, this Bologna process has actually established goals for reforms in the participating countries, what the 3-cycle degree structure, bachelor, master, doctorate, and adopted shared instruments such as the European Credits Transfer Accumulation System and the European Standards and Guidelines for Quality Assurance in the European higher education area. So this actually enable the convergence of structural reforms on issues regarding quality assurance, recognition, and of course, mobility, and fosters reflection on a wider range of issues such as governance, learning, teaching, and values. Let's not forget about the Lisbon Summit. Lisbon Strategy, it's a milestone for European education because it aims to bring European economic competitive knowledge-based status. And by this strategy, it was fixed as a basic aim to bring Europe in a dynamic, competitive, knowledge-based economy. Here you can see the focus is multiculturalism, education for all, professional information, openness to the world, so quality, access, content, openness, efficiency. Very interesting to mention that recently the European Council adopted the strategy Europe 2020. Among the key targets, a considerable increase in the number of young people who complete the third-level education. And the Education and Training 2020 as another strategic framework that actually sets a target that at least 20% of higher education graduates should have spent some time studying or training abroad by 2020. Other agreements have to do with how we tackle future skill mismatch and how we promote excellence in skills development, how we build inclusive and connected higher education systems to support effective and efficient higher education systems, and how we contribute to innovation. All this have to do, of course, with innovation and with the program I mentioned before of Erasmus program. So we are heading towards the European area by 2015, mobility for all, introduction of European student card, have European collaboration between European universities, mutual recognition of diplomas, key competencies for lifelong learning, digital education action plan, how to improve the teaching and learning of languages, and what I said before about the Erasmus program is something that it's interesting to explore, all of you. The key actions have to do with mobility cooperation and, of course, digitization, environmental protection, sustainability. This includes many aspects. And the following also, the national dimension, the funding lines, Discover Europe, Centers of Vocational Excellence, European universities, all these are funded programs, and gives the possibility of partner countries outside the European Union to associate themselves in the program. In the previous program generation, we have Norway, Iceland, Serbia, Turkey, and North Macedonia. So now it's something that you can explore. So European Education Policy Network also, you can explore this website for teachers. There's a network of teachers and school leaders, a wide network of relevant organizations. If we talk about these policies, is measures how to foster collaboration and strengthen coordination for learners, both learners and educators. And at the same time, I mentioned more about organization, strategic partnerships, staff mobility is important, skills, curiosity, productivity, resilience, how we develop curricula, the content, lifelong learning skills, transversal skills, future cool transversal skills, how to train for sustainable development for the ICT, learner-centered transversal skills, inclusive methods. Of course, as I said before, there are no common standards, but we try to inspire one from one education from another. And of course, the national dimension includes multiculturalism, diversity, expanding the national activities to new regions, the values and ethics, as previous speaker said, about tolerance, cooperation, openness. Evaluation should be how I encourage you to be engaged in the national development programs, to implement the national programs inside the classroom, how to participate in the national competitions. Here in Greece, we have many winners students who have excelled in the national Olympiads in robotics and STEM. Of course, what is happening with technical vocational education, the image still is not attractive. Students not choose this as a career path. However, the policies for this focus on how we strengthen the governance, how to enable industry-led programs to reduce skills mismatch, how to strengthen the curriculum, improve the curriculum using innovative methods, relevant design relevant activities. Through these programs, as I mentioned before, European Social Funds, Erasmus programs. After the COVID pandemic, we have many we have the Pact for Skills, which was launched during the European Vocational Skills Week. We have many actions in order to help young people for reskilling and upskilling. So offer a balanced mix of vocational education, including technical skills, deliver an open, digital, and participative learning environment, and offer a curriculum which is regularly updated and relevant, in line with national context, flexibility, and support, being learner-centered, offer opportunities for mobility, clearly user-friendly information. We also prioritize problem project production-based learning, and of course provide role models for, to show young people. Finally, before concluding, we will say that here in Greece, we try to align with the standards of Europe. So we try to emphasize or modernize the curriculum to include digital literacy, critical thinking, foreign languages, to make reforms in assessment. The digital school, digital education, we have a huge program about digital school. We have extended online learning platforms. Here you can see we promote open educational resources. We have digitalized all textbooks of students. Inclusive education, of course, we focus on special education needs, special education needs, multiculturalism, teacher training, and of course, higher education, internationalization, mentioned before, university autonomy, the lifelong learning, second-hand schools, and equity and social cohesion. So we align with the European Union policies, the Bologna process. Of course, there are challenges about economic constraints, about the quality, and finally, all these policies, of course, aim to provide comprehensive, inclusive, quality education, to modernize education system, and prepare our students for the demands of a rapidly changing world. Well, you see that I'm working the last years as a teacher at the Greek Ministry of Education, so I'm directly involved with policy making and especially technical and vocational education. So, for concluding, saying that educating, of course, the mind without educating the heart is no education at all. And education is the passport to our future, and tomorrow belongs only to the people who prepare it for today. Thank you very much. And for any questions we have to discuss.
Thank you, Doctor, for your beautiful presentations. I think here is someone. He has some questions, maybe in a chat. We will see. He has a question about how to implement the policy in higher education system.
Yes, this in Europe we have, as I said before, we try to respect national strategies, university strategies with a common universal framework. Try to respect the national strategies. So we have implemented a framework which actually standardizes the 3 cycles I mentioned: bachelor, master, doctorate. So this is the standard that all European countries must implement. And then the second one has to do with internationalization and mobility. So many programs funded with mobility of students, which allow, for example, for students in Greece, university students, to start, for example, a master here and continue the first year and continue the second year to France. So we have common doctorate programs, common master programs, which enable the mobility, the nationalization, the exchange. This is the trend nowadays, what is happening. But the challenge is how to respect each individual, its national strategy, but at the same time promote globalization. This is and I mentioned before about the network of teachers. I encourage you to explore funds and collaborative programs with other countries. It's the best way to promote high quality university education and to be updated with what is happening globally in this field.
Thank you, Doctor, for your kind answer. Now we have our next speakers, Dr. Shlija from India. Now we would like to welcome for Dr. Shlija. Dr. Shlija is here. After that, we will take